Well, we would always prefer an earnout to anything else because an earnout is only going to be an obligation in the event that certain events that you specify happen. So we always prefer between even seller financing and an earnout. An earnout is better because you might not have to pay it. Love to structure it so that it was in the event that they hit the earnout, then the earnout is going to be paid over a period of 5 years or something like that. That would be very, very helpful.
I I need a little bit of help with the approximate valuation and also a deal stack. So this is in the trucking industry. Um, the ask approximate ask for the business is around 12 million, and the regarding the valuation, the question that I had is in 2021 the company made only 500,000 in profit. In 22 they made 2 million in profit. In 23 they made 4 million in profit. And then there also comes to the working capital of approximately 1 million. So the ask is approximately 3x. Does it make sense for a business like this? It's in a good growth trajectory. The business is growing.
How much did you say they're asking for it?
12 million.
Well, okay. Okay. And so what's your question?
So if you look at their last 3-year average, the average EBITDA is around 2 million,
Uh-huh.
right? So now the ask is 12 million, and it's a growth company. And their projection is also good. For the next 2-3 years, the projection is they're going to be exceeding the 4 million plus in terms of the target EBITDA. So that from a valuation standpoint, does 12 million make sense? First question. Second question is around the deal stack. The owner wants at least half in cash. So I'm thinking about an SBA loan and personal funding to cover half. The
Okay.
remaining half, she said, I mean, they're open to be creative. It's a combination of equity in the company, seller financing, or earnout. And how would you do the remaining 50% of the deal stack?
Well, we would always prefer an earnout to anything else because an earnout is only going to be an obligation in the event that certain events that you specify happen. So we always prefer between even seller financing and an earnout. An earnout is better because you might not have to pay it, right? And you only have to pay it if certain conditions that you agree on in advance happen. So I think that's the preferred. If I could get all 6 million of that half paid that way, that'd be a great thing. Then you would effectively have exposure. You would be acquiring for 1.5 times with the potential, provided that it continues to, generate. And I'd probably, because it's grown so much, you had a 400% growth rate between 21 and 22 and a 100% growth rate again between 22 and 23. But now it sounds like you said they're kind of still thinking it's going to stay in the fours. So have they experienced all the growth they're going to experience? Definitely an earnout feels appropriate because what if it doesn't, because it's going to need to stay at that same level for 3 years at least for you to want to pay the 3 million and just break even. But ideally you're going to get more than that, right? So I think that would be what I would prefer. And then my next place would be seller financing. And then you'd just basically be looking at how can you come up with the 6 million. I mean, it sounds like, yeah, an SBA loan would probably get you most of what you need. And then I would just run through kind of the top 30 ways that we do financing to look at the others. But my guess is that there's some suppliers there. There's some other things, maybe accounts receivable factoring, things like that, that would be able to provide you a fair amount of whatever you couldn't get from SBA.
Got it. So a question on the earnout. So now let's assume the business does
No
as
problem.
expected and they earn out. Do we put a seller financing on top of it, saying we'll pay this back in 7 years or 10 years?
So say that one more time. If
If the earnout works out, right? If you
Yeah,
put,
the earnout, you can structure those terms however you want. I mean, it would have to be whatever the company could afford. So to me, it might be maybe you're willing to pay 15% of the profits. I'd probably do it as a percentage of profits or a percentage of revenue. So what you might think about is what's the revenue, by the way?
Around 30 million.
30. Okay. So they're earning 4% on 30. So they're not killing it profit margin wise, which is good, because it means that you're not forced to keep that. Um, I mean, I'd probably depends on, how long you could get it for. Like I would love to structure it so that it was in the event that they hit the earnout, then the earnout is going to be paid over a period of, 5 years or something like that. That would be very, very helpful. It kind of depends on, what is your breakdown. Let's assume that it continues to make 4 million and you get an SBA loan on, let's just say 6 for ease. I'd do the amortization schedule, for the SBA loan and say, what is at, current market rates for interest? What are my payments going to be? And I've got 4 million to work with. So let's say that your payments are going to be 2 million, and then you could get a deal to pay the 6 million over 10 years at 600,000 a year. You'd basically be paying 30% of the 2 million profit you had left after covering the SBA loan, because you'd have 4 million in profit minus 2 million to support the SBA loan per year. Let's just say it's not going to be that, but let's just say that that's what it is. That would leave you 2 million. 4 million minus 2 million equals 2 million a year. And then if you were to pay 600,000 of that to those guys over 10 years to pay off the remaining 6 million, if they hit every part of the earnout, that would effectively be 30% of the 2 million profit you have left after debt service. So I just run that analysis, build yourself a little Excel model on that, and then say, what do I feel very comfortably that I could afford? It's probably not going to be, it's probably not going to be more than 1 million, because 1 million a year for 6 years, that would be 50% of the profit that you had left. It would still give you something to grow, but I'd be a little nervous because it doesn't give you a lot of room for wiggle if things go down. So, of course, things go down, it probably wouldn't be triggered. So as long as it's continuing to earn the 4 million, you're probably, you just want to pick a number that you feel very comfortable. To me, it'd probably be 50% of available profit after debt service. That's kind of how I'd look at it.
Awesome. Thank you. So
Okay.
now when we are approaching this particular seller, last question, and I'll take it. This should be an easy one for you. So when we are approaching the seller, do we go with multiple models and we put, here's option A, B, C, and you pick one of this, or do we just go one option?
Yeah, I think that you want to present the option that is most favorable to you, that you want them to take, and nothing else. And then you
Got it.
have fallback positions.
All right. Thank you, sir. That
So
was
what I
helpful.
what I like to do is and it goes with what we were talking about, before, is, do I want to pay 500,000, 5 years in the future, or would I rather, or would I rather pay interest on, what makes the most sense for me? That I'm going to go through it and basically say, how do I prioritize? Here's, let's say, 6 potential ways that I could do the earnout. Um, what what's the number one thing that I would like most, and then what's number 2, 3, 4, 5, and then those are my fallback positions in order.